way from Providence, Rhode Island, welcome to the Potterverse. It is a podcast dedicated to the film and book universe of Harry Potter. So grab your favorite wands and time turners. Let's step into the night and pursue that flighty temptress adventure. And welcome back. My name's Mary.
My name is Blake, and oh boy, is it awkward when the Godfather kind of, gets the fight on with your surrogate mom, or your adoptive mother, rather. That's
soon to be mother-in-law. Let's be real.
Yeah, this is
a family dinner if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah,
all the drama.
And I'll say that this is probably one of my favorite chapters, just because it's not just wee magic, and it's not just like Harry being with the Dursleys. This is when all of the facets of what's to come starts bubbling over for all of our characters, and it introduces a far more textured look at all of our favorite players. Mm-hmm. And this is the beginning of that.
I agree.
And this is why I love that chapter.
Well, this chapter, of course, is Chapter 5, The Order of the Phoenix, the same title as the title of the book. Makes it sometimes confusing when you are writing supers and things like that we get to do. But here is the quote that I wanted to read to you. Had a good summer so far? No, it's been lousy, said Harry. For the first time, something like a grin flitted across Sirius's face. Don't know what you're complaining about myself. What? Said Harry incredulously. Personally, I'd have welcomed a Dementor attack. A deadly struggle for my soul would have broken the monotony nicely. You think you've had it bad. At least you've been able to get out and about, stretch your legs, get into a few fights. I've been stuck inside for a month.
All right, so we got that. Sirius is an interesting character in this chapter.
He's a brat. But understandably so.
Yeah.
In my opinion, understandably. So we've got an emotionally immature grown man who, freshly graduating high school, gets shipped off to Azkaban, where he gets to learn, with his cousin Bella. And then after that, he gets shipped straight off to 12 Grimmauld Place.
And just gets stuck there.
In another prison.
And in a place that he actually despises.
I think it's kind of funny that he says, I would have much rather fight a Dementor. When no, you wouldn't, man. You just did 2 books ago and you failed at it, and Harry Potter had to save you from them, and you were terrorized.
Well, it's a better learning experience now. It's like Rocky 2. When Rocky came back and wins the fight. Okay. #spoilers.
Now that he's okay, I spent time with him in Azkaban.
Yeah. And
then we had that situation,
We don't like to say
the werewolf. Yeah.
We don't like to say. We can just call it the situation.
The buckbeak time. And so I just find it funny that he, of all people, who knows how terrifying Dementors could be, is I could have taken them. Could you have, Sirius?
I could have done
Could you?
Best armchair quarterback move ever.
Seriously, serious.
All right, are you ready to get into the podcast, my darling?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah? Okay, let's get it.
I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good.
Sorry, I realized I should have said the end of the chapter, not the podcast. I don't know why I said that.
I don't know either. It threw me off, though, as you could tell.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what are we doing?
Wait, I thought we already started the podcast.
But of course, just to give you a little recap for those of you who haven't freshly read Chapter 5, Order of the Phoenix, in the Order of the Phoenix novel, this is the chapter where Harry learns about Sirius's family and that this building actually is his family's. He's the youngest of the Black family tree and has inherited it. And it is a dirty, gross, dark building that the Order of the Phoenix now inhabits. And then, like we said, Molly Weasley and Sirius get into a fight. Everybody's sharing their feelings. Mm-hmm. And it is a chaotic dinner scene.
All the feelings.
All the feels.
All the now legal magic, by the way, that Fred and George are now able to do.
Not very well.
But whatever, they're still doing it.
She definitely should have had Tonks help out instead of Fred and George.
It's like
she would not have had a knife come barreling towards Sirius Black.
It's like when you get your car for the first time, when you're 16 or 17.
Most people don't get a car.
But when you're able to
they're
drive, you know what I mean.
Yeah, we know Freddie Prinze Jr. We know. We know. Most of us don't get the bow on top.
When you listen, I didn't get the bow on top.
Okay, you didn't get the bow.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, you didn't get a bow.
I wanted the bow.
I know.
The bow would have been great.
Draco.
Who wouldn't want the bow?
Daddy, why'd you get me a new broom and no bow? Everyone in the commercials gets a bow.
36. I wanted 37.
Okay, so you're trying to say when everyone learns how to drive.
If I got you a bow, wouldn't you be happy? You'd be happy if I got you the bow.
Like, I don't understand.
If I drove your car
Rich
home,
people talk. Can you please change it so I understand?
you know what I'm talking about. If I got you the bow on a car.
Like, I'm done. No, I'm just saying that people usually don't get cars when they turn 16.
What I'm trying to say is...
So I'm just trying to understand what
you
point
learn how to drive a car when you're 16, right?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. That's
Very
what I'm getting
different.
at.
Thank you. Very different.
What I was trying to get at was... Marvin. What I was trying to get at was...
Draco.
You're able to drive a car when you're 16.
Yes.
You're legally allowed to drive a car.
If you pass the test.
Just because you pass the test doesn't mean you're good at driving a car.
There we go.
Right? But you're still able to drive it.
Especially if you got it for free as a present from your parents.
Oh, my
With a bow.
God.
With or without a bow.
I didn't get the bow. You would be happy if I got you the bow, though.
Anyone would be happy to get a bow.
Of course. Anybody would love the bow.
People, yes.
Nerds,
Okay.
tell me if you wouldn't be happy if somehow someone came home with a brand new car.
Okay, so
with a
you're
bow on
saying,
it.
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I remember vividly getting my driver's license or the permit, because you have to get the permit before the license.
Yes.
And my mom made the worst choice ever.
What?
Where do most people take their kids when they're learning how to drive? Where were you taken when you were given your permit and they said, okay, I want to let you sit behind the wheel. Let's try this out.
Empty parking lot.
Normal people, right?
Yeah.
My mom put me on a normal road, very busy, skinny, like one lane each way, surrounded by stone walls.
Oh,
like just
nice.
picture like an English country road that buggies used to be on, but
with
now it's
more cars.
paved with cars with big stone walls. So I, of course, was driving like a British person because all my life I'd sat in the passenger seat. So that's what my vision was used to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a minivan.
Oh, my God.
Driving on the American driver's side, but as far right as you can go, about to hit a stone wall.
Oh, my goodness.
Getting yelled at. What's wrong with you? I don't know. I've never driven before. Why'd you put me on a stone road? So skinny with other cars.
Was it the bow? Did you need the bow?
Oh, my God.
Well, you know what? Can I ask you a question?
Yes, Blake. I'd love to have a question.
What is the baseline?
What is the baseline for normal poor people?
No.
What do you normally get when you're 16?
What do you pause
for
get?
you poor people?
What do you pause
Tell
get
me
when
what
you're
it's
16?
like, Weasley Mary.
Did you,
Mary Weasley.
Do you pause get a model of a car?
No, don't even get that. You can use my car, but you need to pay for the gas. So good luck picking up pennies.
You just get the hope and dream of a car.
Yeah. You could still ride your bike with your helmet because you have a job that you have to get to.
Why don't you get your permit and get on your bike?
That's what I had to do, Blake. Remember I showed you the hills that I had to ride up?
Yes.
Blake, thank you. I'm like Tonks, still riding my, Sweep 260 or whatever broom it is. And she said, you're such a Draco.
I'm not a Draco.
You are, and I love you
Oh
for
my
it.
God.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh.
So
what my question was,
that's the chapter.
What is Hey, all right, that's it, ladies and gents. See you next week. What is the baseline size of a bow for a car? Like how small?
We're done.
I have a question. It's a legitimate question. How small of a bow can you get?
I don't know, Blake. You know what?
What if I went to CVS and got you a bow?
I would be happy with any size bow.
Are you telling me I should have went to CVS before I got you a car?
I mean, technically, we owned this shared bank account, so yes, you drove and got me my car, but together we got
I
the
put
car.
the whole deal together. Come on, give me a little bit of credit.
I mean, I'll give you credit, and if you want to say that you got me a bow at some point, great. I think bows are a waste. I think that
bows are a waste.
I think they add to litter.
You know what I've been thinking about too?
They don't biodegrade. No.
You know what I've been thinking about
We
too?
got to get back to Harry
Hold on,
Potter.
wait. Just let me finish this
This is
thought.
like your favorite chapter.
Let me finish
talking about rich people bows.
Let me finish the thought, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
You know what I don't like lately? Gift bags. I'm out on gift bags.
You've never liked gift bags. You're actually a terrible gift giver. I have to get the gift.
Whoa, time out. I'm a great gift giver.
For who? Aside
you?
from me, only me. Who
Yeah?
else do you get gifts for? I have to buy all the gifts for everybody. You just don't like gift bags because I go out and I buy all the gifts and I say, "Hi, could you please help me with all these birthday or Christmas gifts that I've gone and
No,
bought?"
what I'm thinking about is you get the gift, you put it in a bag. It's not like you're unwrapping anything. It's just a bag.
I think gift bags are great because then you can reuse it.
No, I
if
know.
You're looking
but
out
like,
for the
what do you do
environment.
with the bag later?
You save it. You put it in your pile of gift bags that don't have stickers on them with the to and from that you can now reuse.
Unbelievable bags. Bags are the worst. All right, let's get into the chapter. We're like 10 minutes into the podcast. We're talking about bows and gift bags.
People like bags.
Out on bags. Nerds, tell me if you're in or out on bags. That's
you
the
don't buy
question.
people gifts.
I buy people gifts.
You buy one person. Me. Gifts.
Yeah, that's the one person that matters.
I know.
That's it.
And guess what?
What?
You get me them in Amazon bags. You have the Amazon people wrap it.
Yeah.
So don't complain.
I'm not complaining.
Don't complain, Draco.
I'm saying.
You want an extra $10 to wrap it for me?
Yes.
So I don't have to go to the
absolutely.
dollar store like Mary does? Go for it.
I don't have to put the labor in. I don't got to write the card.
This is what we pay people for. This is great. You know, you can be serious, okay? Because you know that he was a rich kid. But he left his family. He didn't really take the money.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, he went to jail, so it's not like he can
I didn't
really...
do the whole jail thing yet.
No. All right, so here we are at 12 Grimmauld Place, and we are introduced to Sirius's Black's mother,
Yes.
who they have been trying to take a picture down for a month. And these are auras. These are like hardcore, amazingly talented,
Like real
brilliant wizards.
Like straight up like
who can't take down a portrait of Mrs. Black.
like straight up adults. Real adults who are real wizards can't take this picture down.
You know what? I think it's Creature every night. I think they start to wear it down.
Yeah.
When they work on it, they get like 80% there, and then when they're sleeping,
Yeah.
Creature's the noble house of Black with his gorilla glue.
He's like the Mickey in Rocky. Like he comes back, he coaches her back up.
I don't know. Sure, Blake.
Come on, you know who Mickey is.
Nope.
Hey,
don't.
Mick.
When you say Mickey, I think the mouse.
Mickey.
None
Mickey
of
was
us
his
know.
coach. Mickey
Good.
was his trainer.
Great. He probably gave him bows.
No, Mickey was too poor for that.
So he was like me.
He was one of you
dollar
poors.
store reusing the bags. Oh my gosh! Just better for the environment. Telling you.
Sucks.
The other thing that I do is I take the Trader Joe's bags and I cut the paper bags and I let the kids decorate
Yeah,
them.
no, see that's good. I can get behind that.
I like that I'm glad because I do it too.
Yeah. Well, that's
I
great.
buy the gift.
I love that for you.
All right. So, but how amazing! Once again, I just need to give props to Mrs. Black. Whoever
yeah.
put this picture up of her, I believe it would have been her. I believe that she would have had the portrait made
Noble House of Black.
and stuck it up there and been like, Creature, this is the deal. I will let you do whatever you want, man.
A lifetime supply of
Gorilla glue this every night. Please,
You know,
and thank
he gets the gorilla. You know when your hands get the super glue on it.
and he's got those cute little elf fingers that are so long.
and you can't like.
No
you
wonder
can't-
he's crabby.
Like it feels funny when you get the super glue on your fingers.
Yep.
That's all he's got.
Yep.
He's got super glue fingers.
Oh my goodness gracious!
And you can't touch anything properly.
You know, they've been trying to clean this place, 12 Grimmauld Place, for quite some time. And
Yeah.
I'm just kind of shocked. But then again, the people who...
Then
again, it sounds like Molly, Weasley, and Sirius are the only two. And Lupin are the only three that are really able to be there. Because everybody else has JOBs
Sure.
that they need to, deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd think by now, having the kids over for the summer, having these three grown adults, that
And really, it's only two because Sirius isn't cleaning.
they could have bippity-boppity-booed it.
Right. Why
Okay.
can't you bippity boppity?
Why can't you, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Mickey Mouse did it with the brooms.
If Dumbledore can fix that Muggle's house,
Yeah, with the dragon blood when he goes finds. Yeah.
Why
And then-
can't they do the same thing?
You know what? Why doesn't Dumbledore just do it if he shows up? If Dumbledore is the best one at cleaning.
Yeah, great. If you wanted to argue Dumbledore's the only one that can do that, fine. Hey,
You know what I need to do is I need to call Molly Weasley and I need to teach her the 10-minute tidy. Because Blake, are you a believer in the 10-minute tidy?
I am a believer in just keeping it tidy no matter what.
Okay, so Blake lives in an imaginary world where myself and our 2 children can keep the house clean and the puppy and the cat, but it doesn't work. But
definitely does not work.
I created this thing called the 10-minute tidy.
It actually is a good concept.
And it is bloody brilliant, if I do say so myself.
So parents out there, listen up.
Listen up. 10-minute tidy. So you do it after dinner. Maybe before dessert. Okay, you got to use. You got to have some leverage. So it has to be like
have an incentive.
There needs to be a carrot at the end of the stick. Okay, whether it's TV or screen time or cuddles or
a bow.
A bow. Okay, so at some point you say 10-minute tidy, and if you have an Alexa, if you have something, you set that timer. You play fun music, and everyone. Tidies for 10 minutes.
You get Kelly Clarkson on there, and you just
get something pumping people up. And I gotta tell you, if you get the members of your household to 10-minute tidy every night,
that's true. You
are a happy person the next morning. You come downstairs and your house looks great. This is what they needed. All they need, they're too busy looking at diagrams of, the Ministry of Magic and the Department of Mysteries. They're too busy with this. They're too busy chasing Fred and George with the extendable ears. All you need is a 10-minute tidy. You guys have enough people in this house.
You could get it done.
Yes.
You're too business focused.
Yes.
You need to just flip that a little bit.
Seriously, stop complaining. Make this house a little nice. Get rid of the troll foot.
Find the Gorilla Glue supply.
Yeah.
And just go.
And you would have thought that maybe, spending the summer, that maybe someone would have warmed up to Creature a little bit.
No. You know what?
Hermione?
Creature doesn't want to be warmed up
Lupin?
to. He doesn't want to be warmed up to. All the mudbloods and, muggle lovers and the whole... He's there only because he's got to be there.
So he can hide his Gorilla Glue stash.
Yeah, how do you feel about the whole Tonks thing? About how, they...
Tonks as a person?
No.
I'm here for her.
But, how they play, I would say, pretty heavily into her clumsiness in this chapter.
Listen.
And, why do you think the author...
If I was written into a character in this...
Oh, yeah.
I might have been Tonks.
We have a special thing in House Larson. A very special phrase.
Swish and flick.
It's called swish and flick. And when Mary inevitably bumps into something or drops something,
usually something that is liquid.
Yeah, always liquid.
It can't just be a dry thing. Or maybe I do the dry things and we don't notice it as much because it doesn't make as many impacts.
And my children have developed that disease as well, where it's just every single day, at least twice a day, there's a swish and flick.
I think there's an honest to God spatial awareness disorder that I have. Truly. I truly do. Whether it's my glasses or my astigmatism or maybe some other issue, but I bump into things all the time.
Spatial awareness
Blake, I
disorder.
swear there's a thing.
No, you definitely. If it is a thing, you got it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, watch me play basketball.
No, watch Mary in pictures.
Oh my gosh. In pictures, I think I'm right in the picture with everybody else. I'm 2 feet away. I honestly think I'm in a group photo, and all of my high school group photos, it looks like the volleyball team, the field hockey team, the band. It looks like they're all great. And I'm
and Mary's halfway out of the
Sally
picture.
Sidestep. Where am I? And I really thought I was right behind their shoulder.
Right on them.
That's why when I do group photos now, I make myself in it. I get in between people because I know I can't mess it up. That's true. If I'm in between people.
If you're on the side,
if I'm behind
forget
people,
about it. You might as well not even be in the picture.
Sometimes I probably wasn't. But
yes,
so that's why. So you're asking about Tonks. I bet you the author had a Mary in her life, a swish and flicker.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite things ever is when we're in bed before we go to sleep, and Mary reaches over and does something to her nightstand.
Table, yeah.
And I hear her reach over,
and then
there's a and usually there's a sound of liquid spilling.
I've gotten better. I've started to use the cups that have a straw.
Sometimes it's, oh man.
It's always a surprise to me.
And I just go, swish and flick.
Yep, every night, friends. So Blake, do I have a problem with Tonks? No, I feel seen. I feel seen.
You feel validated.
I feel but honestly, it is weird because I wonder if the author had other plans for Tonks in this series, that she would have messed something up. We have Mundungus mess, obviously, the great mess up in a couple of books, and Mad Eye dies for it. So I kind of wondered, will there be little mess ups that either Tonks is going to be a red herring for, or will she have a big mess up that will have, other implications? And then I also wondered, will her face shifting be a thing? Will we be able to see other people who can change their face? Goes nowhere. So I'm kind of disappointed with Tonks' storyline.
I mean, Tonks does go somewhere, but it's more of like, all right. So,
I'm saying
we're all
these
friends here, so we all.
characteristics-
Oh, okay, fair enough.
These characteristics don't go anywhere, and I think that they were really cool and different. And I'm saying that I don't see these characteristics playing a part.
The things that she does in this chapter, right? They don't play a real role moving forward. The only thing that they do is they illuminate.
They personify Tonks.
Well, yeah,
So
they illuminate her so that when there's a change in her later on, you can say, "Oh, she's moved from this person to that person," right?
Yeah.
I think that's a fair statement. But you're right, though, Mary. It's unfortunate that there wasn't much more to that for her, at least moving forward. And I would probably say that if this is the case, if it's only just a tonal thing, I wonder if the author, I wonder if it's just that the author uses this as a way to balance out what's to come in this chapter, right? Like if it's something that's, you have these very serious topics happening here, and is this more of an affectation of like, hey, this is just, it's still a kid's book, right?
Yeah. Well, I think, as I said, I think it sets her apart, so it gives her some personality traits. So as her character does move on and do other things and gets together with Lupin and all that kind of stuff, we have a picture of her in our mind, just like we have a picture of who Fleur is, you know what I mean, and character traits of her.
Sure.
But I'm just saying that they were so unique and different than other people that I wish that they were a bit more grown upon. I also think that she acts as the bridge from the kid's age to the adult's age.
Yes.
So she is freshly out of school, brand new aura. And so we see that where she does still play around with Hermione and Ginny in this chapter. And she is still able to have kind of that youthful innocence that these darkened older witches and wizards don't have.
Yeah.
And they talk about Tonks being the new generation. Okay, we're doing what we can. We're trying to spread the word when we can, but we are meeting new people like Tonks. And she heard the truth about Voldemort coming back, and now she's here. So I think she's kind of like, she's like the Gen Z, like what we would see right now. Like we even got a Gen Z. You know how Gen Z voters are now able to vote?
Yes.
Or,
okay.
like how they're just like starting.
Yeah.
No, or is that,
Gen Zs are now just starting.
Yeah. So I feel like that's what they're like. They're like these boomers and
boomers
Gen
in a
X's.
boardroom going,
being like, we need a Gen Z.
We need an influencer.
We need a TikToker. We found one.
Go get us a TikToker. Is that
She
what they call
has pink
it?
hair. Perfect.
She can change her face into a duck bill.
With a filter? Without a filter? Sign her up. Sign her up.
Get her in this room immediately.
She moves awkwardly in public. You know how TikTok dancers do that? But it's just Tonks being Tonks.
I did ever tell you the story about the time I was driving to Newport and I thought that someone was having a seizure?
No.
Like I legitimately thought I was driving and this person was walking and just stopped and started gesticulating wildly. I thought this person was literally having a seizure. Oh. And then I was about to stop, and then I saw that there was this tripod on a stone wall.
Yep.
And they were just dancing for TikTok because then they stopped and they were totally fine.
Oh.
And they went to go grab their phone and check it.
Bless your sweetheart.
And I was like, oh, what have we come to as a society?
Blake, who like never stops for people, was about to stop. It was that serious.
It was that serious. I thought that this person was like in trouble.
Yes.
Like there was a real like life problem happening.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, that's true. That's a true story.
So, we've got everybody here. Everybody's here except Snape, who we already talked about. He's going to have better food. Thank God Snape left.
Yes.
Because Fred and George, who are, like you said, able to now do their magic, make a hot mess express.
Huge hot mess express. What do you think about all that? And is this also part of...
Here we go. Fred and George had bewitched a large cauldron of stew, an iron flagon of butterbeer, and a heavy wooden breadboard, complete with a knife, to hurtle through the air towards them. The skidded. Blah, blah, blah. Let's rewind that.
Say that again.
The stew skidded the length of the table and came to a halt just before the end, leaving a long black burn on the wooden surface. The flagon of butterbeer, fell with a crash, spilling its contents everywhere, and the bread knife slipped off the board and landed point down and quivering ominously exactly where Sirius's right hand had been seconds before.
So why do you think the author is including this? Because, again, with the Tonks thing, is this just more of an affectation of, like, is this part of a transitional phase that we get to see for Harry?
No, I see this as Fred and George just upsetting Molly.
Sorry.
I think this is a...
What I meant was, are we seeing transitional phases that Harry can eventually go through where, like, it's he is where he is now, right? And then Fred and George just are able to start doing magic, and then it turns into Tonks, who's like a full-grown person but is still young, and then we see the likes of Molly and Sirius and in the Order of the Phoenix, right? Do you think that is what the author is trying to accomplish there?
I don't know. I saw this as more getting to see Fred and George really not fitting in anywhere and wanting to experiment some more, and Molly just being so fed up with them.
Even to
that
the point
we are going to be
Ginny.
excited for them. Yeah.
Even to the point of getting upset with Ginny and yelling her away from all of this. Which we all know, Ginny can basically get away with anything in Molly's eyes. So the fact that Molly eventually responded to Ginny the way that she did, I think says volumes. Especially in light of what, Harry hears in all of these conversations, whether it was, like even like Mundungus being the kind of person that he is, and he's navigating the borders of criminality, but it's useful for the Order of the Phoenix.
Oh my God, the Mundungus thing I just hate.
How come?
I would be rolling my eyes nonstop at Mundungus. I would be the Maudley Weasley in here. Here he is teaching Fred and George like funny stories about how he stole a guy's stuff and then sold it back to him because he was dumb enough. Straight up saying, "Sirius, is this real silver? I bet I can take away this mark," which I think is so brilliant because here we go. Like already he's thinking it's totally okay to steal expensive Black family items.
Yeah,
and
so that does set
when
up,
he does have the chance to steal the locket that Regulus had, creature guard, of course, that it makes sense to us here. But I will tell you, when I first read this, I forgot everything about Mundungus. I forgot that he was shady and stealing stuff, and I forgot this whole like, oh, how about this special cup that has a marking on it? You know what I mean? Like, the cup means nothing, but I'm just saying that he has no problem pretty much sharing with everybody, I'm going to steal everything from everybody.
Yeah.
So when it came back in the 7th book, I was like, oh, I guess, okay, sure. But I forgot this. And I almost wish, I don't know. I'm going to keep my eye on Mundungus a little bit more. But it's just, Sirius gives that credit. Okay, Dumbledore thinks it's important that we keep him. But part of me is like, why?
Well, I mean, he is valuable in that, and they even say that.
I haven't seen his value, is what I'm saying.
Well, it's just that he toes the line of criminality, and having that ear to the ground, within that, societal structure, let's put it that way, it is valuable to have those rumblings, right? It's valuable to have a back channel to people that you probably wouldn't normally be able to communicate with.
I want to know what tight spot it was that Dumbledore helped him out of.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Wouldn't that be a great little
I would like to know that
story.
And
I'll have to see if I can find it.
And I think that's
it was on Pottermore.
That's a great bit of characterization there, because you can see Dumbledore doing that, And you can see why, and there's reasoning why Mundungus is willing to stick around for Dumbledore and be with the Order of the Phoenix because, in that world, that kind of thing means a lot, right? If you're able to get out of a situation, you help. It reminds me of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. You're right, with Mike and be like in his guys. I always take care of my guys. Mm-hmm. And so that's what it feels like.
Fun facts. We have a couple of mentions of Mundungus from the previous books, believe it or not. Chamber of Secrets, so book 2. Yeah. Arthur Weasley was conducting raids on behalf of the Ministry. Mundungus attempted to curse him when he had his back turned. And then in the Goblet of Fire, after the Death Eaters rioted during the Quidditch World Cup, Mundungus sent a fraudulent claim to Percy Weasley for a damaged, expensive luxury tent. And in reality, he had been sleeping under a cloak propped up by sticks.
Listen, the guy thinks of every angle. I got to give him credit what credit is due. Thinking of every... Yeah, I had a wicked expensive tent, guy.
He is not known to take any part in the Battle of Hogwarts, but it's possible that he did, and Harry just didn't notice him. So, interesting.
So there's nothing there about what Dumbledore did for him? Did for him?
I'm still looking.
Interesting. Very interesting. If there's some nerds out there that know this, I would love to know. Speaking of Arthur, though, I love the conversation that Lupin and Arthur and Bill are having about the goblins and what that potentially means for them. Like, would the goblins want to join Voldemort, or would they want to join the Order? And the reasoning behind both is completely valid. Whether it is... Oh, no, Voldemort did a whole bunch of bad stuff to the goblins in the first war.
Here's the bit. Mr. Weasley, Bill, and Lupin, they're having an intense conversation. They're not giving anything away yet, said Bill. I still can't work out whether they believe he's back or not. Of course, they might prefer not to take sides at all. Keep out of it. I'm sure they'd never go back to you-know-who, said Mr. Weasley, shaking his head. They suffered losses, too. Remember that goblin family he murdered last time, somewhere near Nottingham? I think it depends what they're offered, said Lupin. And I'm not talking about gold. If they're offered freedoms, we've been denying them for centuries. They're going to be tempted. Have you still not had any luck with Ragnarok, Bill? And he says, he's still feeling pretty anti-wizard at the moment. He hasn't stopped raging about the Bagman business. He reckons the Ministry did a cover-up. Those goblins never got their gold from him.
So it's a great way to tie in the events of last book with the current series of events that are happening, which is funny, Marvin, because, we talked about how useful the stuff with Ludo Bagman was in the last book. And I'm not saying...
Are you using air quotes? Useful?
Yeah, useful. Like the storyline of it all,
Unuseful.
Right? How, and it's not serving as like a major turning point or everything, but it just adds more texture to the
universe,
to the growing sentiment within the wizarding community, right? And yes, you're right, into the Potterverse, if you will. So it's an interesting callback to that. But I love the fact that there is no right answer. Like, there's no pure, like, oh yeah, the goblins are going to stick around with us because of this. Like, the wizard community, as it stands, has done wrong, and they have to pay for that.
And it's interesting because, of course, this being the 5th book, we're going to be seeing mistreatment by the centaurs. We're going to be talking about giants and everything that goes on with Hagrid and his brother. We've obviously had the last book where we talked about the mistreatment of the house elves, and then we know how big a deal it is to have goblin aid when it comes to the Sword of Gryffindor.
Sure.
And honestly, what the centuries long of mistreatment of the goblins leads from mistrust. So, fun fact, Hogwarts Legacy, the video game that has just been released recently, that revolves a lot about, I think, the Goblin Rebellion.
Oh, really?
So there is going to be some interesting things. We literally just got the game.
I just downloaded it days ago.
Designed my face. I mean, that is where we're at. And they wouldn't let me do, because they asked me my name in it, and so I put Mary Larson, and they said I couldn't be Mary Larson, so they just changed it to Mary Potter.
And they were like, yeah, sure.
You could be Mary Potter. Okay, great. So that's my name. It is Mary Potter. But I love this because Lupin is the one. Now, of course, Lupin, he talks about how people don't want to have him over for dinner because he's a werewolf. So he's able to be in this part of society that is poo-pooed by pureblood wizards and even just regular wizards probably. And so I think that he gets to have an interesting insight, just like Hagrid would be able to speak from this from his own heart and to talk about how the wizarding community as a whole mistreats others.
Right.
And this is going to be a huge thing going forward, obviously, with Umbridge. So I love, just like you said, Blake, just this little sprinkling that the author does. And it really continues to play a role in treating other people, whether they are witches and wizards or not, whether they're muggles, whether they are goblins, whether they are elves, treating everyone with respect.
And this also works to what eventually comes Mary, right? This also lays groundwork for what happens between Sirius and Molly. And not so much in that, oh, these people are being oppressed or whatever, but in that there isn't always right and there isn't always wrong. And being able to lead up to that. And again, I think the stuff with Tonks and Fred and George or whatever is very much needed for this chapter, because what eventually occurs is emotionally, I think some of the most serious stuff, just pardon the pun, but it's some of the most serious stuff that Harry Potter as a franchise tackles, right? What should Harry actually know? What should Harry actually do? Is he able to make his own choices? And if he is even able to make his choices, is he even capable of making the right choice? How much should we involve any of these kids, right? Because no matter what, like there's a great conversation between Harry and Ron when he's like, "Oh, you're gonna tell me everything anyway." Like, won't you? Like, even if you do keep the other children, away.
At hand's length. Yeah, at arm's reach.
They're still going to be able to get all the information anyway because Harry's their best friend, right?
I did love that moment where Harry contemplated, ooh, should I make them feel what I felt this whole summer?
Right.
Having information held back from me. But instead, he's like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
yes,
whatever.
I would be telling you.
So I find this to be one of my favorite moments in the series, in the entire Harry Potter series, just because there is so much pathos that's in this conversation between Molly and Sirius and Mary. I would love to know who you think is either right or more right than the other in this argument. And I desperately want to know your opinion.
There's a lot of arguments going on, so I don't know.
Well, the
you
main
mean Molly's side
Molly,
or everyone else?
The way that Molly is speaking with Sirius and vice versa. And I'm so desperately waiting on your take on it because you are a mother and you are very much a Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Who would want to be privy to all the information. Like you are the amalgam of all of these traits, in my opinion. And your opinion on this greatly matters to me because I want to know if the maternal side in you comes out more or the Gryffindor, Harry Potter, Sirius Black side comes out more.
Okay. I think I need a little bit more perspective as to who am I at this conversation.
No, you're just you.
Yeah, so am I 41-year-old mother, Mary, sitting down, possibly member of Order of the Phoenix, like they're asking me my opinion, or am I a kid? Because usually I like understand the kid's perspective from these books because that's where it's written.
Sure.
Or am I Molly? Who you
are you.
So
you're just
if
an Order
Mary
of the
Larson
Phoenix.
was in the Order of the Phoenix and I was having dinner, eating some stew, I wonder what kind. It sounds delicious. My mouth is kind of watering. Freshly baked bread. Thank you.
You know it's got to be beef stew or like potato stew of some sort.
Sopping it up with some homemade bread. Oh, love it, Molly. Okay, so, and I'm me.
And you're a member of the Order of the Phoenix.
Am I a mom?
And
am I like truly like if Mary Larson right now?
Yeah,
okay.
if you're in the Order of the Phoenix and you're there, and Molly's backering at Sirius, and Sirius is going back at her, and you're just a witness to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Who's more right, or who is right, or at least who is more right?
You ready?
Yes.
Y'all ready for this? I'd side with Molly.
Really?
Because, for listeners who don't know, I'm a little psychic. It's a
Yes.
little weird.
It is a little weird.
I don't explore it. I don't try to do witchy kind of stuff, but I definitely have some weird stuff that, like, I know things happen.
Yes.
I have dreams when people get hurt, like the night they get hurt, and I check up on them, and sure enough, they are. Yes, Molly is very protective. But also, Molly, just like everyone else, has heard Dumbledore say, Harry can't learn about stuff right now.
Mm-hmm.
Dumbledore is an idiot because he should have said, I'm a little nervous since Harry's blood is in Voldemort. Who knows if Voldemort could have a little peek into Harry's brain. Like, I wish Dumbledore fleshed that idea a little out more with them, because then I think everyone would say, oh, you know what? We can't tell Harry everything. Mm-hmm. Or even say that to Harry. Say, I'm a little worried that this is a potential possibility. But I feel like Molly has her own motherly intuition where she just wants to protect the kids from anything and everything. We're going through an awkward time in our life right now with our 10-year-old who was given the puberty talk at school, for example. And, you know, any parent who goes through having to have the birds and the bees talk, or has to go through pressing issues, you know, maybe a child watches something on the news about what's happening in schools across America, or politics, or any of this any stuff that is heavy that we think adults should talk about.
Sure.
And then a kid accidentally hears it or is exposed to it on the bus or anything like that, and then you're like, oh gosh, I'm not ready to have this conversation. Like, none of us are ready. None of us are like, I can't wait to talk to my kid about guns in school. I can't wait to talk to my kid about, you know, I'm not even going to say
Holocaust.
Yeah, like, we're not like, yes, I can't wait. And, you know, I want to tell them early. I can't wait to tell them when they're wicked young. And when you are a parent yourself, you're going to see your kid as really young. You're going to see them as younger than they see themselves, right?
Yes.
You feel, growing up, you feel more mature and more ready for things than your parents, and because your parents have always known you as little ones. So I appreciate that Molly is trying to protect these kids from what she may think is over their heads, because she wants to still protect their childhood. Like, how many of us choose not to show our children the news about the current world that we live in, the current dangers that they could be potentially exposed to, because we are trying to protect their childhood. We are trying to protect their innocence. If someone is listening right now being like, I would have told them, okay, would you let them watch all of the news right now? Would you let them know everything that's happening?
Well, that's a fair question, Mary. I think we as parents have been very truthful with our children about events.
But we don't, but we filter it completely. And so I think if Molly could sit down and say, okay, it's kids' story time. And if she could filter it and what she thought would be a cleaner, careful version. Like Sirius Black, he to me is like a YouTube talk show host, okay? You know those people who like have their own news shows, but they're bananas in their basement.
Yes.
Okay? I wouldn't want to get my news. I wouldn't want to show my children news from one of those people.
From Banana Land Basement Guy.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay? If we want to be talking about the war going on in Ukraine and Russia and, you know, any of the, like you said, the Holocaust, if we want to be talking about any of those issues, I'm not choosing someone who's slightly unhinged to teach that material. So I would appreciate if Molly said, you know what? If we all want to tell these teenagers what's going on, let's do it in a different format versus just having plain adult speak. Because the way that we speak as adults, even about current day issues,
well, it's different than how you
different.
would speak about it with a child.
Yes.
Okay, when the stuff with COVID happened, we were very truthful, I think, and honest about what was going on with our children. When the stuff with January 6th happened, I feel like we were very truthful and honest with our children.
Through our filtered, like truthful and honest, meaning what? Did we let our kids watch the news? No. We talked about it. And that's what I'm saying. I think if Molly would be told, listen, we should tell the kids something.
Okay.
but like, how can we talk with them about it? And I think how they end up talking about it in this chapter is good, but I think she's afraid because Sirius is a crazy YouTube news reporter, and she's like, I don't know what he's going to say.
Well, here's the other thing too, though. If they did just sit down and have a truthful and honest conversation about this stuff with the kids, right?
But
but is Sirius's idea that like let them make the decision on what they feel? Like, is that wrong?
Yes.
How come?
Because they're still kids. So I would not want my children watching all of the news that is available.
But even if it's directly related to Harry. Like, sorry, I know we're going back and forth here about between examples, but let's just take Harry for example.
But they can't because Voldemort's in his brain.
True.
So they can't be completely truthful with him. Now, I don't think the Order has been told Dumbledore's full potential ideas, and I think that that's something wrong on Dumbledore.
Well, yeah, and that's a whole nother layer of this conversation.
I think if Dumbledore was honest with the Order of the Phoenix, saying, listen, this is a theory I've got. I'm pretty sure that Voldemort has an Alexa listening in on Harry's brain, or has the potential of that. So let's just be careful. I think that they should have had a conversation. Now, granted, Harry just showed up unannounced. So who could have known? Maybe this was on the curriculum or the little like outline for things that they want to accomplish this summer. How are we going to talk to Harry? Okay, maybe that would have been something that Molly would have said. She would have said, you know what? I think August 15th, before the kids get ready to go back to school, we should have a conversation about what we share with Harry.
What's the lesson plan?
Yeah. What is the language we're using? How much are we sharing? What do we think is not appropriate? And then Dumbledore might have said, you know what? Let's keep that part here. And then they could have had a nice conversation. This all came out of the blue. And I think that that's the other difficult thing. It's not like the Order of the Phoenix has been planning on rescuing Harry tonight. All this time. This was all like, holy flippin' smokes. Now Dementors are attacked. Like, this is the same night that he was attacked by Dementors. This is the same night.
Is it? I think this is a couple of days.
Oh wait,
later.
sorry.
But whatever.
3 days, whatever.
Yeah,
it's like
whatever.
He was
Stats
just
for
attacked
nerds.
like
He
3
was
days
just there.
ago.
They had to move quickly.
So
and they
Sirius's blood is boiling. He's nervous. Everyone's on edge. Why are there Dementors? What the heck's going on? And they're acting out of, what is that term? Like you're not thinking things through properly. You're just acting.
You're impulsive.
Yes.
They're acting impulsively.
And I think that Molly is afraid that they're going to impulsively share things, and she would much more. I think Molly might keep things from them too much, but as the mother, to bring this back to what you had asked,
yes,
I would have said, listen, everybody, let's just enjoy this stew. We need to reconvene with Dumbledore. Harry, love ya. Some things are going on. We're going to talk about this. I promise. And I would say, we're going to talk about this in 3 days. I would make a plan. But I would have an inkling that something is wrong. And I also think as a mother, in my heart, I'd be saying, we need to discuss.
But the problem is you have Sirius on the other side saying, well, he's my godson.
But he's not really saying that much.
But he does, though. He does call out the fact that I'm the Godfather.
Yeah, and then Molly puts him in his place and says,
but
you were in Azkaban.
But that's not his fault.
No, I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm just saying, okay? You really haven't had that much experience with kids.
But on the other hand, he technically is the legal guardian. Yes, I understand that Molly was the adoptive mother. And of course she should and ought to play a role in what goes on.
Me. Why am I Molly?
But you're not I
was
Molly.
Mary Larson.
No, but I'm saying just as part of the conversation, as someone who is witnessing this, right? You're not Molly, you're not Sirius, you're just witnessing it, and we're talking about it through that lens. Is Sirius, in my opinion, as an onlooker here, he does have the right to do what he wants with Harry because he is the legal guardian. Okay,
so if you're going to go that far, then he is responsible for a lot of the bad things that happen for Harry. I think Lupin is a better guardian. Obviously not a legal guardian, but like Lupin's actually spent time more with this kid. He spent time with kids. He's been a teacher. I love you, Sirius, but he's unhinged. He is not okay.
Well,
it would honestly. I think Sirius lacks self-reflection.
Well, I think
the fact that, buddy, calm down, simmer down. Like, you know nothing about this child. You know nothing about how he has no idea how Harry might react. He does not know Harry. Lupin at least knows Harry.
Well,
Molly at least knows Harry.
And this is my next point, right? Because it's probably no coincidence that Lupin is the one that comes in and plays the referee and says, "Whoa, everybody, time out. Let's go back to the corners. We're going to keep the boxing theme
It's just
here."
making me think of like people that swoop in. I feel like I've seen a movie about this or something where someone swoops in and they're like, "Nope, you're my kid now." And they like have no idea who this kid is. And they do things completely differently than how someone's lived their entire life. And I'm just saying, I think Molly thinks Sirius is a bad influence. I think she's a little wary because he's had no experience with these children whatsoever. He is very rash.
I would say that Molly is probably the most fit and qualified to be a guardian of Harry, or Harry's guardian. However, there is something to be said for the fact that Sirius actually is the Godfather.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I would also say that you're right, Mary. Lupin is, I think, the figure that probably is the most objective in all of this. Mm-hmm. And I can say that specifically because when you look at Sirius, and even though Sirius is like my 1B character in all of this, like except for Snape, like Snape is 1A and Sirius is 1B.
We are so different.
You have to look at Sirius's emotional evolution in all of this, right? Because you even said it yourself, Mary, like he got out of Hogwarts, did his thing. A couple of years later, James and Lily have Harry, and then they're dead. He gets blamed for the whole thing, goes to Azkaban. Years later, gets out of prison, and now he's just like emotionally stunted. How could you not be?
That's what I'm saying.
And how could you not want your best friend's kid to be a version of your best friend?
Well, that's messed up.
Right. And
get a friend your own age.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? But how much of Sirius's mental acuity has been stunted back to that age?
I mean, you're pretty much proving my point, so yes.
No, Marvin, this is what I'm saying. I think Molly's probably the best suited to be a guardian. However, Sirius has an honest-to-goodness claim of authority over Harry. Yet, at the same time, I think Lupin is probably the best decision maker because he's the least biased. Right? Because he can see all of it. Mm-hmm. He can look at it from 30,000 feet, especially as someone who has been mistreated by the wizarding community. Right? Like, you can't avoid that lens. You can't just whistle past that graveyard. Like, that is there.
Yeah.
And he has to be able to see both sides. And so, again, it's just not a coincidence. And I don't think that it's, just for funsies that Lupin is the one that comes in and says, all right, everybody back to your corners. We're going to figure this out. And like, these are kids, but they do deserve to know some things here. And we can't just pull the wool over their eyes completely, right?
Yes.
Right. And I think that is something that is special about this book. Because this book, having gone through the pandemic, this book reminds me of those early days of the pandemic. When everybody was just trying to figure their stuff out. Everybody was like hustling.
What's right? What's wrong?
Right.
How do I feel about my family who feels differently than I?
Everyone's making decisions left and right. You don't know who's right. You don't know who's wrong. people are making wrong decisions. People are trying to make the right decisions, but doing it in the wrong way. Like, everyone just scattered. And in the meantime, you couldn't buy toilet paper. Right?
Lest we forget.
The great toilet paper rush of 2020. Right? So this book reminds me of that because you can look at the oncoming of Voldemort as if it were this thing that sets everybody it sets them all aflame.
Yeah.
And even then, the way that that Voldemort comes back, even that is messed up because Harry wasn't supposed to have survived that interaction. Nobody was supposed to know he was back. He was going to go about his business in the shadows, and it was going to be a lot less controversial.
Yeah.
Right? It was just going to pop up, and there it is, and see you later. But in this instance, that's all been thrown asunder. And I don't know. What do you think about all that?
I love it. I love that he messed it up. I love that. And I actually, I find the conversation that they do end up having once Lupin says, okay, we do need to tell them something. Let's do this. I think the conversation that they end up having with the teenagers is perfect. And had Molly known this is how we're going to bring it up to them, she would have been fine with it.
Right.
But I don't think that the adults were allowed to have this time and space to say, how are we going to bring this up to the teens? It's different than in the movie. In the movie, it's Molly saying, Sirius, stop.
Yeah.
You had a weapon. Stop. In the movie, I felt like Molly and the adult Order of the Phoenix members had an inkling that Harry might be compromised by the way that Molly was stopping. That's enough,
Sure.
Like, whether it was because I didn't find anything that he was saying scary. It's not like it's going to give Ginny nightmares, but it was more of, we need to protect this knowledge.
Yes.
And maybe it was more of, we just need to protect this knowledge. Who knows? Are they going to go tell Seamus Finnegan? Like, what's going to stop them? But here, I felt like it was more calm and still very delicate with how they brought the information in the book.
Oh, okay. Yep. Fair enough.
There wasn't this whole, biting the other person off.
The larger question at hand, and again, this kind of goes back to the COVID thing, right, is who's the leadership, right?
It's
in all of
supposedly
this?
Dumbledore.
Right. And that's my question. The leadership should have a control over the situation.
Yeah.
And in this case, Dumbledore has control over the situation, but to me, it feels misplaced. Right? And it's not to say that his decision of being like, hey, we got to keep Harry under wraps because we don't know, there's this connection, but we don't know what the connection, if it's back and forth, if it's two-way, we don't know any of that stuff. And I can see Dumbledore making that decision and saying, doesn't it matter if it is one-way or two-way? It doesn't matter. We have to make sure that we have to treat it as if it is two-way.
Yep.
The problem being, though, is that this is not, I think, communicated properly.
Yeah, it's Dumbledore's fault.
And even if it was communicated properly, okay, now let's say you're Dumbledore, Mary. How are you going to communicate this properly to the Order of the Phoenix? And in a way that if you actually cared about Harry and you cared about his mental well-being, to keep him informed enough to be like, there's this thing that's happening, but we need to educate you on it.
I don't want you to freak out because he might be in your head.
Right.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's very difficult. And this is why it just, it upsets me for Sirius because I appreciate that Sirius has felt like he's been imprisoned yet again.
Yes.
And he feels like he can't do anything. But on the flip side, this is a newly 15, essentially still 14, but 15-year-old boy, young man, who just saw a classmate die, is an orphan, has some crazy snake face guy trying to kill him. And now Dumbledore has to decide, do I tell him that I have this theory? It's like being told you may have cancer. You may have cancer. I don't know. I got to do a few more experiments.
We're efforting that right now.
You're only 15 and you're going to have to deal with this like really difficult maybe. But like think about that for us as adults listening, you and I, Blake, and I know we have listeners of all ages listening, but like, you know what it's like, especially as you get older in age. Oh gosh, I see a doctor every day. It's like, but when you go to the doctor, you have something wrong with you and they don't know what it is. And then they say, it could be this really scary thing. It could be. Like I think back to when we were pregnant and they found those little spots on our son's brain and it ended up being nothing. It ended up being like freckles, you know, but it could have been something that led to something really bad.
Yes.
And they weren't going to know until we could do more tests. And for like 2 weeks,
it was brutal.
I cried every day. We were so nervous. And you know, Dumbledore has to weigh that because once again, there's no therapist at Hogwarts that he can go to and say, hey, how do I tell a brand new 15-year-old that they may have, you know, this really crazy psychic connection with the Dark Lord?
But wouldn't it have been prudent to at least acknowledge that there is this possibility? And if there is the possibility, guess what? There's this thing that we can do. It's called occlumency. And we can head that off.
But I think it was like one of a million theories at this point. It's not until Harry's connection with Voldemort grows stronger that there's more evidence for this. Like right now, there is no evidence. It's just, oh no, what does him having his blood inside of him do?
Sure.
Like a million different things.
But there's enough evidence there for
there's
Dumbledore.
There's no evidence yet.
But there's enough there for Dumbledore to at least make this decision.
I mean, I guess the evidence would be him seeing the death of Frank last book. But aside from that, I don't think there's enough evidence for Dumbledore to make this theory, because then he'd have to flesh out every theory. And we know that at least the theory of the occlumency and the Horcruxes are true, but like, Lord knows how many other ideas he had.
So then let's put it this way then. Through that lens, is Dumbledore treating Harry as an asset as opposed to a human?
Dumbledore has always treated Harry as an asset, as a lamb bred, for slaughter.
Yeah.
I don't think, like if there were a tally of the amount of times, but one could say both, right? One could say, no, I'm allowing him to try to have somewhat of a normal childhood. I don't want him to have to worry what's wrong with me. But also, this is just one of the many theories. Because think about this, like, once again, we are adults, we're parents of an 8 and 10-year-old. As we think things through, we don't bring our kids into every conversation if it's in this vague maybe land. You know, as things get closer,
right, then
we start to bring them into the conversations.
Yes.
But, you know, when it's in vague maybes, they're not included. And heck, that can even be said for you and our marriage. Granted, I tell you everything in my brain because I don't have a filter, but there are probably things that you think about that aren't even that big or have that much substance to them that you're like, I'm going to talk about this idea with Mary.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, at the same time, there is, a legitimacy to to what is happening with Harry, and there is an effect there. It's far more prevalent than a random thought that comes through my head and be like, yeah, you know what? I probably should talk to Mary about this eventually. You know what I mean?
And he does. I think you should have spoken with him about a lot sooner. I think that they should have had a plan as the order to talk with Harry before he goes back to school.
Yeah. And there's also the problem too.
And don't forget, Dumbledore's going through his own stuff. He was taking off all of these high chair and board positions.
Right.
Like he's being raked over the coals
Yeah, but
left
do you think
and right.
he cares about that, honestly?
No, I just think it's taking up his time and his mental effort.
Fair. Okay.
And it may be cutting off some of the resources that he's able to use.
Sure.
And his influence.
That's
so
fair.
And they have so few people. You know, they're trying to protect Harry. They're trying to get the word out. They're trying to do all these things.
And it's also,
like, they're putting out so many fires at once.
And it's also, this is germane to the conversation too, right? Because that's why they needed somebody at the Ministry of Magic, because the minister is so intent on making sure that Dumbledore is cut out. right? Like, because he truly fears Dumbledore in a sense that Dumbledore's coming after him. So they're slanting everything away from him as much as possible, which means that they need someone like Kingsley Shacklebolt to be there to like watch things.
Yes.
So that's fair. That's a fair statement. I guess it's just more evidence that the adults in Harry's life are making poor decisions. And number one, my question, Mary, is do you blame them for the poor decision making? And then number two, part of that poor decision making is calling this thing that Voldemort wants a weapon, right? Because implicit in that word is that it is an offensive object that can be used in an offensive manner to strike at the wizarding community. Which is inherently scary for a kid. It's inherently scary for anybody, right? Like if you heard there was some wild man right now going after this doom weapon to strike the United States, you'd be like, oh, that's a problem. Like, do you think it's problematic that they characterized what Voldemort is going after as a weapon?
I don't think they knew other words.
Interesting.
Like, I think that that's how Dumbledore might have said it.
Okay. And that said, then
I'm just putting all the blame on Dumbledore.
well, it's not unreasonable to do that, right? Because Dumbledore, I think, makes some questionable decisions. And my first question, I guess, Mary, is I'm going to go back to it, which is, do you blame the adults for the decision-making process that they're undergoing right now? Or do you find either sympathy or empathy for their positions in this moment?
Yes, I find sympathy and empathy.
How come?
Because I think parents and parental figures all mess up kids. Some more than others.
Yes.
And I don't think that there's a single one of us who can't say, I regret that. You know, maybe you lost your temper one time. Maybe you reacted poorly about something. Maybe you shared something with them that really wasn't appropriate, or, was something that caused more difficulty for the kids. Maybe you made choices that you look back on, you're like, wow, that was really selfish. Maybe you had to make selfish choices to basically survive, but it negatively impacted children in your life.
Yeah, and for our younger listeners, you know, there is a transition in your life when you recognize that your parents, and I don't want to be the person that breaks this to you, but I mean, it is what it is. You listen to my podcast, so you're going to have to deal with it. Your parents are not superheroes, right? They don't know every answer. They don't have every solution. In fact, they were a kid just like you.
Just a little while ago.
Just not that long ago, right? And the reality for your parents and the reality for Mary and I think the reality for all parents is that they're just figuring out life the same way you are. It just so happens that they've been doing it longer. So they know a little bit more than you. Right? That's not to say that you question your parents at all cost. It just means that they're capable of doing wrong. Yeah. And that's why I love this chapter, because it's one of those sneaky things that tells you adults and parents are not always right. In fact, they can get stuck in the minutia of, I'm the Godfather. Well, you were in Azkaban. Both of you need to calm down. Like, there's a great argument here to talk about the well-being of a child and what that means for his future. And that's why I love this chapter so much. Because it's not just Harry. It's not, wee, Hogwarts. It's not magic. It's just, there's this kid. We're trying to do the right thing. How do we do the right thing? and everybody has an opinion on it, and it introduces the wizarding world on a larger scale through that lens in a very personal way, which makes it very effective world building and character building for all of these characters, right? Love that. You have anything else for this chapter, my love?
Let me check all my little notes that I made. I still love that Sirius and Snape loathe each other, and that Sirius is now jealous of Snape. Like, growing up, probably Snape was jealous of Sirius to be in the Cool Kids Club, to be around Lily all that time, like all these different things. And now it's Sirius who is jealous of the life that Snape has.
Yeah, absolutely. I
love that Crookshanks loves on Sirius and jumps in his lap and allows him to be pet by him. I just love it. I just think it's weird that people had to cook so much when they could have just bippity boppity booed. There's so many adults there. I'm like, why are none of you bippity boppity booing? The cleaning, the cooking, everything.
Figure it out.
My goodness.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right, you ready for your different perspective?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Holy cricket! You're Harry Potter! I'm Hermione Granger. And you are?
Arthur Weasley.
Howdy! How are you today?
I'm having a good day, you know?
Really?
Things have been rough in the Weasley household. I don't know if you've known about this,
okay,
but
what do you got?
You know, we've got several kids who've been going to Hogwarts, and obviously a child died there, was murdered actually by Voldemort.
not great, Bob.
Not great. I'm, of course, doing my job as best as I can while I'm trying to be undercover for the Order of the Phoenix and sneaking around and doing the things I need to do.
Tough situation.
Oh, my son, Percy.
Talking bad about you.
I don't even want to talk about it. So tensions have been high.
Yes.
And, you know, we went from living in a beautifully disorganized house to our summer holiday is now 12 Grimmauld Place.
Not a great place to be.
No.
Smells of mold.
You know.
You know what you should do?
What?
You should bippity boppity boo all that stuff right out of there.
That's not my forte. That is my forte is in a different skill set. I didn't take those electives. But with all of this going on.
What is the purpose of a rubber duck?
With all of this going on. Today's been a good day for me.
Okay, why has it been a good day for you?
Nobody's fighting with me.
Finally.
Because I don't know if you noticed. But I just got to eat stew.
Yes.
And bread.
Great stuff.
And butterbeer.
Sopped it up.
I didn't have to say anything. Molly was fighting with someone else. It is so great to not be the only adult in the household right now.
I heard you did the smart thing and just let her do. Let her do what she needs to do.
You know, I greeted Harry. I love Harry Potter. He's such a great kid. Oh my God, I hope he marries Ginny. I want the kid in my family so bad. He's so cool. He could teach me so much about Muggle stuff. Like, imagine that. Imagine Christmas with a Muggle-raised kid.
Oh my God.
He's going to be able to explain so many things. What are these lights for? What are they for? Why do we have a fake tree? What is the purpose of a rubber duck? I mean, it is endless.
Can you tell me about Nintendo?
For me to sit down, it's been a doozy. You know, I have to report to different people. I'm busy with Kingsley. I have to pretend I don't know Kingsley, even though we've got a cool handshake. We've got he and I, we've got a really cool handshake, but we can't do it in public
because it's secret.
Yeah,
you don't want the secret to get out.
And I love when Molly fights with Sirius.
Oh yeah,
because it's not my problem.
You know what you should do? Just sit back.
And then when we go to bed,
fold your arms.
And I just do and she thinks I'm the best. However, I will say she might after tonight she might get mad at me that I didn't stand up for her too much.
Yeah.
But as long as I don't take Sirius's side,
yes,
I'm in the clear. She gets all of her frustration because she's been pretty emotional, understandably.
She's got a lot of things happening.
Lots of things. Lots of kids worrying about, all this stuff. We've got a lot on her plate.
She even yelled at Ginny, I heard.
Ginny's getting a little
feisty.
She's 13, going on 14 real soon.
Yeah. She's getting her own.
Probably is 14 by now. I don't know when Ginny's birthday is, but
I got too many
kids. But she's tough at this age right now, but not for me.
No.
So
you know what you do? You let Remus fight your battles for you.
Love it. And Remus and I, when everyone goes to bed, we sit down with some fire whiskey because we're like the two chill ones.
Yes.
It's awesome. We're like, because we've lived through this before. This is our second time.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep. Been there, done that.
We share war stories. We know what to stress over and what not to. Sirius and Molly going back and forth. Not worth stressing
Too
about.
fiery for you.
Exactly. When I saw Lupin standing, I was like, he's got this. And I had poured another glass of butterbeer, and we're good. We're good. End scene.
Great job, Mary. Great job. All right, you ready for some emails?
Always.
All right, here we go.
I feel like we have to sneak in Aries all the time.
Mails.
Always. All right, so this one comes from Maureen. She says, I just listened to your podcast about Chapter 4 and wanted to react to something that Blake asked when talking about whether the author knew at this point about the Horcruxes. Mary said she believes she did, and Blake asked where that evidence would be that she did know. And Maureen thinks it's in Chapter 6. Turn to page 86 of the illustrated version.
Oh, I don't have that in front of me.
Yes, you do. It's right here.
You have the illustration.
Well, I'm reading. I can't read
OG.
and read at the same time.
Sorry, what chapter? What page?
Turn to page 86 of the illustrated updated version. Mary is efforting the page 86 right here.
Okay.
And it's the part where the gang is cleaning out a glass-fronted cabinet in the house. They come across a heavy locket that none of them could open. Could you please read that for me, Mary?
Oh my gosh, hold on. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. I was too busy looking at the pictures.
Mary opens the book with purpose, and then she just looks at pictures, which is something.
Hold on.
Okay.
They found an unpleasant-looking silver instrument, something like a many-legged pair of tweezers, which scuttled up Harry's arm like a spider when he picked it up and attempted to puncture his skin. Sirius seized it and smashed it with a heavy book entitled Nature's Nobility, a Wizarding Genealogy. There was a musical box that emitted a faintly sinister, tinkling tune when they wound it, and they all found themselves becoming curiously weak and sleepy until Ginny had the sense to slam the lid shut. A heavy locket that none of them could open, a number of ancient seals, and in a dusty box, an Order of Merlin First Class that had been awarded to Sirius's godfather for services to the ministry.
Maureen says that is the locket, the one that they will end up carrying around in Book 7.
Beautiful.
And I'm pretty sure that there is a callback to that moment in Book 7, although I cannot double check at this moment as I don't have the copy of the book on hand. Anyway, I hope that's evidence enough for you, Blake, that the author knew where she was going and putting little breadcrumbs like that for us to catch on later. Maureen, I, my friend, am going to give you this.
There you go.
Makes me wanna shout.
Abso-frackin-lutely. This is totally an Easter egg for all of us nerds. That, yes, the author, I think at this point, does know that there are Horcruxes. There is 0.0 chance she mentions this locket that you are not able to open for no reason. Like, there's no way. I can't see any other way or any other reason why that is in there, especially knowing that the locket plays a very specific role in the books later on. Like, you don't make that mention. Now, does she know that the locket is the Horcrux at this point? Perhaps. Or is she hedging her bets with all of those different items that could be the Horcrux? Right? Like, that's a different question.
Okay, yeah.
But I like, is it easy to say that she knew that one of these things was going to be a Horcrux? Yes. Could she have come back after the book and been like, I'm choosing the locket? But I don't think that there is... I don't think you call out the locket in the reason that in the specificity of you can't open it without there being intent, right? I just don't see it happening. All right, this one comes from. Oh, wait, hold on. I thought I had the. This one comes from Abby. She says, "How do you do, Mary and Blake? I'm Abby, a proud Slytherin and new nerd clan member."
Thanks, Abby.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abby. She says, let's see here. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and love of Harry Potter. Your references always make me laugh because we're the same age. She turns 40 in August.
Yay, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy early birthday. So I get them all. I really die every time Blake talks about She's All That. The fact that he even still remembers character names and stands for Freddie Prinze Jr., I did not see that coming. Yes, Zach Seiler is one of the greatest characters ever written. He is perfect in
And
every
he probably
way.
got a Jeep on his 16th birthday.
And he definitely got a bow on that Jeep in his 16th birthday.
There you go.
Of course, you know he did. The greatest soccer player of his generation, Zach Seiler, okay? My question from Abby, she says this. If you were starring in the new Harry Potter series, who do you think you would be cast as? For me, it would be hands down Bellatrix. I look most like her. She actually sent a picture.
Ooh.
And it looks exactly Abby.
That's amazing.
Exactly.
Abby, you need to contact HBO.
Hold on, Marvin. I gotta show you this picture. Hold on. I gotta bring up the email.
Who would you be, Blake?
Who would I be?
Either current you or if you had to be younger you. Who would you be?
Oh man, I would. I'd probably be Neville. I'd probably be Neville, or like one of those no-name Slytherin
I love
dorks. You know that just like.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who I'd be?
Who'd you be, Blake?
I'd be Goyle. I'd totally be Goyle.
I know.
I would like eating cupcakes.
Yeah.
You know, like that would be me.
Okay.
That would totally be me. Hold on,
Love
I gotta bring up this photo. This freaking photo is
Oh my
wild.
gosh, you
Hold on,
do.
there she is, right there.
Amazing.
Oh my goodness gracious,
Fantastic.
Abby, that is
Please contact HBO.
that is stunning. She says, "Oh, Mary, who would you be cast as?"
I'd be
Or
cast as Madame Rosemerta.
Madam I could see that.
I know.
I could totally see that.
Because I'm busty. I feel like I could pour a good ale.
Yes, I could see that.
And I'm friendly. And I'd just be smiling to people.
And
Welcome, come on in.
so
With my Rhode Island accent.
Yeah.
Hey, who
Hey,
wants
how
another
are
beer?
ya?
Who wants a beer? Maybe they would give me a non-talking role. But I feel like Madame Rosemerta would be my jam.
So Abby says, for me, it's hands down Bellatrix. I look most like her, and she, at any rate, is my favorite character. Oh, I'm in on this, Abby. She says, sorry this is so long. I really appreciate you both. You are the Wingardium Leviosa for my spirit. P.S. I was at the Wizarding World last October at the same time, too, as you. It is unbelievable. Yes, it absolutely is. All right. This one comes from Patty from Portland, Oregon.
Hello.
Or is it? No, it's Oregon. It's Oregon.
Oregon.
No, Oregon.
In.
Listen, it's Oregon Trail.
No, that's because you're from here.
Oh, so what? If everybody understands it as Oregon Trail, it's
people
Oregon.
out. No, wait, Blake.
Patty,
Oregon.
please weigh in on this.
She will say Oregon if
I
she's
don't know.
from Oregon.
What if she's from
Oregon.
Massachusetts and she moved to Oregon?
Oh my god.
Maybe she says Oregon. Maybe she's one of the only people, one of the only people out there that says Oregon. Do people in Washington say Oregon?
I'm not even. Keep going.
She says, hi, long time listener, first time writer.
Hello.
Thank you so much. I've wanted to share my 2 cents on several different topics forever, but I've only just caught up with where you are in the books recently. In the last chapter, you discussed quite a bit about why the advanced guard left Privet Drive via broom instead of apparating or using some other form of magic. I always assumed it was because brooms are passive rather than active magic, which to me, Blake's, that seems like a totally reasonable idea. The use of port keys in the Flu network is monitored by the Ministry, which we know has been infiltrated, and the trace on Harry shows not only the magic he performs, but the magic that is performed around him. One person disapparating in his general vicinity would not be a big deal, but 7 people would stand out significantly, and they are trying to be discreet. Using the brooms for transport in and out could not be monitored in any way as it is not a spell that is cast or magic actively being performed. This would mean that Harry's relocation would be completely secret, keeping him safe from the Ministry, the Death Eaters, and Dementors alike. This is all echoed again in the Battle of the Seven Potters. They all arrive and are leaving by broom because it will not alert anyone, and it is the quickest and most likely way to get them to safety without any higher powers knowing or tracking, which is a tactic that would have worked if Severus Snape hadn't revealed the Order's plans. Keep doing what you're doing. I love listening to your content, especially your banter. Love and well wishes to both of you and the kiddos. See you next chapter. Patty from Portland.
Thanks, Patty.
Oregon. This one comes from Richard, and Richard says, "Hey, Mary and Blake, fairly new listener here from the UK. Thank you so much. Found you guys through the Rings of Power podcast.
Oh.
Yes, everybody go to maryandblake.com and check out the Rings of Power with Mary and Blake if you are a fan of the Lord of the Rings verse, if you will. And of course, as a huge Harry Potter fan, I had to start the Potterverse from the very beginning, which is a good place to start, I may add.
Hey.
Currently on Chapter 18, The Weighing of the Wands, and slowly catching up each day to the latest podcast where I will hopefully hear this email read out when I'm up to the more recent Potterverse episodes. Well, when you get to this one, Richard, thank you for writing this one in. Just want to say thank you for the constant laughs and the entertainment. I often suffer with anxiety, and listening to you guys at work helps me through the day and keeps me from overthinking. Really appreciate the hard work you both put in, and I'm amazed how much your kids, especially your little lad, knows about the Harry Potter universe. Bless you both. From Rich. Mary, do you have anything special to say to Rich? Because you too suffer from anxiety and all of that non-wonder. Just from one anxious person to another, what would you like to say to Rich?
That you get to cast spells with your mind.
Oh, I like it.
That's what I tell our little lad, is that when he ready? Here we go. Ready?
Yes.
So we don't use the words anxiety or anxiousness with our kids. But instead we use the terms Horcruxes and Dementors.
Yes.
And if we have worries and if we're acting out of sorts, maybe we're short with each other or we're crabby or we're quiet or however, I can ask my children if we have a Horcrux. And the Horcrux is something that we can define. So, I'm so crabby. Oh, why? I think I have a hungry Horcrux. I think I have a tired Horcrux. I think I had a bad day at school Horcrux. And so what that allows us to do is it allows us to take this bad thing that we're feeling, but know that it's not us. We are not bad. We are not, the sad thing. We are not anxious. It's that, because like as grown-ups now, we say, I am having a bout with anxiety.
Yes.
I am sick with anxiety right now. Like we're trying to like label it off of us. So rather than my kid think like I'm feeling crazy, I'm super worried. Instead, so we're able to say I have a Horcrux that I had a bad day at school, that I fought with a friend, that my tire on my bike is down. And so then when we're able to disassociate ourselves from it, we can see that for what it is and say, okay, I have a hungry Horcrux, so I can eat. I have a hungry Horcrux, so I can say that to other people. I'm dealing with hunger right now, so I'm sorry if I've been unkind to you, but I'm dealing with hunger. Then we have Dementors. And Dementors are when you can't pick what the Horcrux is. It's just an overall feeling of sadness and worry or whatever it is that, Harry Potter books describe. So, if we go through, okay, why are we acting this way? Why are we feeling this way? Is it hunger? Is it exhaustion? Did something happen? Is there something I can like label off of me that I can potentially even fix? No. It's just this overall, like really deep, big, bad thing, which we might all know as like anxiety. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Like there's nothing that caused it. It's just here. We then call that a Dementor.
Yes.
And so what I tell my kids, and I even know for myself, is that when you have the Dementor, aka anxiety that you can't label on as having a situational thing, that you need to find your expecto patronum. And it sounds like we, as Potterverse, are one of your expecto patronums.
Yes.
It needs to be something that always makes you happy. So for our little lad, he will put on the Jurassic Park theme. Like that song makes him feel good. It makes him feel happy. For some people, it may be calling or texting a friend or putting on a familiar show or listening to music or going for a walk. But these are things that no matter what will at least make you feel even incrementally better. And so that's going to help because you know that it's not rooted in something, that you can cast a spell and you can try to shake it. It may not always work, but you know that this is your happy thought, just like you need to have a happy thought to do Expecto Patronum. So that's what we'll say, like, what's your Patronus? What kind of Patronus do you want right now? Do you want to have music? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to play a video game? And so we know each other's Patronuses, and so we're able to help get them away, get the Dementors away. So hopefully that helps. But that's how I talk about anxiety and worries with my kids, is actually labeling them as Horcruxes and Dementors. Yeah, my son's 3rd grade teacher was like, you need to write a book about this, like therapy for Potter fans. But hopefully that helps.
Anxiety with Mary. This segment brought to you by Mary and Blake Media.
Find your Patronus.
Wow, excellent stuff, Mary. Can you imagine that? If, like,
I am going to be writing a book, so none of you steal this, okay? None of you steal it.
We're already claiming ownership
Okay.
of it. #TM. Trademarked. Can you imagine, like, if they actually used that in the Harry Potter world? Harry, do you just have a Horcrux on? I don't know, okay? Oh, good, then it's just a Dementor. You cast your Patronus. Fight your Dementor. All right, you ready to close this bad boy out?
I am.
All right, let's do it.
We want to thank you all so incredibly much for tuning into this episode of the Potterverse. Don't forget to head on over to Apple Podcasts. Whether or not you listen on Apple Podcasts is actually the best place to leave a written review. It helps the show get found. So head on over to Apple Podcasts, just search the Potterverse, and write a few sentences. Leaving some stars is always nice. 5 is my favorite. But the written review, even if it's just a couple of words, really helps other people find the Potterverse. So if this podcast brings some Lumos in your time of knocks, we would greatly
Or if we're
greatly
your
appreciate-
Patronus.
Hey, if we're your Patronus, please take the time and leave us a review. We want to thank Crystal Cal, who said the best Harry Potter podcast. While looking for a Harry Potter podcast, I found the Potterverse and so happy I did. Mary and Blake are the best. They are funny and also very knowledgeable about the Harry Potter universe. I've learned things that as a huge Harry Potter fan, I didn't even know. Mary and Blake's personalities will draw you in and keep you there. And the best part, you will love it. So thank you so much, Crystal. And thank you everyone else who's written a review. Blake and I do read each and every single one, and it gives us like a hug in our heart. So thank you. My name's Mary.
My name is Blake.
Mischief managed.